Well, it's a beautiful day in Dublin for the UCI Cyclo-cross World Cup. Who's going to rise up and be beamed with pride at the end of today's racing? A very warm welcome to round 9 of this Cyclo-cross World Cup. Here in a frosty but very warmly received circuit. As you can see in the background, it's frosty, it's snowy, but the music, as always in Dublin, is playing. We're just outside Dublin in Blanchardstown. Let's take a look at the standings of this Women's Elite Cyclo-cross World Cup. Fem van Empel is the leader with 290 points. Puck Peters in second place at 195. Shireen van Anrooy will not take to the start today. She's chosen to take a break. She's in third. Denise Betsema in fourth, could be looking at third place overall in this World Cup by the end of the afternoon of racing. So we're on the campus of Sport Island, which is a wonderful location. So many facilities here for elite sports. For the very first time that we have had a Cyclo-cross World Cup here in Dublin, and the fans are certainly looking forward to this. Let's hear from some of the riders.
Just how difficult is this racetrack to master?
It's really hard. It's also because it's the first time with these conditions this year. So I think that's for all the girls the same. But you have to find good lines, and yeah, that's really new in the frozen sections now.
Van Empel, er wordt gezegd dat dit een race is voor de grote motoren, maar die grote motor van jou, die sputtert een beetje.
Ja, klopt. Die hapert op het moment een beetje. Maar nee, ik hoop dat in de wedstrijd anders is. Dat ik met een hoge intensiteit misschien iets meer doorkom. Maar ik voel me op het moment niet helemaal 100%. Maar ja, we zullen zien hoe ver ik kan komen.
Kan je dat toelichten? Niet helemaal 100%, want dit is wel een omloop waar je best 105% bent.
Ja, inderdaad. Het is echt een heel zwaar parcours. Nu schijnt de zon, dus het wordt steeds gladder. Ik heb gisteravond denk ik iets verkeerd gegeten, want ik merkte direct na het eten dat ik wel last kreeg. Dus ja, hopelijk dat het een beetje wegtrekt.
Inge van der Heijden, have you made your choices yet as far as tires is concerning?
Yeah, I've made a choice. I think it will be during the race really muddy because the sun is shining now. So I think it will be Reno.
How difficult is it to interpret this race course?
Really difficult because it's the first time this season now with the frozen. So it's really difficult to find a good line. But yeah, I think it will be changed. So maybe muddy this afternoon.
Puck Peters, how about jumping those barriers here?
Yeah, of course. If there are barriers, I'll jump them.
How big of an advantage is it? Because maybe the rest won't do it.
Yesterday they laid quite fast, but today with all the snow and the ice, they're a bit slower. So I don't know how much of an advantage it will be. But yeah, I'll save some energy by not having to get off the bike.
Pauline Ferrand-Prévot, quelle est la difficulté de ce parcours?
C'est vrai que le circuit est totalement plat, donc c'est vraiment dur de trouver des parties où on peut récupérer. Et il y a des endroits où c'est à l'ombre et c'est vraiment gelé. Et il y a d'autres endroits avec le soleil, ça a déjà fondu. Donc voilà, il faut essayer de trouver le bon compromis entre essayer de rouler vite, pas trop freiner dans les virages et aussi pas glisser. Donc non, ça va être intéressant.
Some of the riders then giving their thoughts. Fem van Empel's going to give it 100%. She's looking forward to the course. It's a tricky one. Pauline Ferrand-Prévot, she's did a recce yesterday. She's interested to find out what she'll find on the course today, because as the temperature increases, this course is changing all the time. Started off this morning with frosty, icy conditions, with really hard surface. Now it is very, very muddy. So it's going to change throughout this entire course. We'll see how it changes during this hour of racing.
Next one is coming from Luxembourg.
A small but select group of riders who are being called forward onto the front row of the grid. There are 30 riders, a lot smaller than normal. 9 different nations represented. And that gives an opportunity then for some riders who we've seen in the top 10 and being very close to the front of the race, being given their chance now on the front row of the grid, notably Marie Schreiber, who we've certainly seen over the last few weeks. So we're just outside Dublin, a population of 588,000 people. Blanchardstown outside, one of the largest suburbs of Dublin, located about 10 kilometres northwest of Dublin city centre. The crowd is expected to be huge, as you can see in the background. They really have been building this cyclocross up. And we're forming up our front row of the grid. There'll be 4 rows of the grid today. And this facility that we're in really is pretty special. It's being built up all the time as a real campus for different facilities. It's got a huge gym area, it's got an aquatic centre, a national indoor arena, the athletics training centre, also covered pitches, gymnastics training, a sport arena for horses, also hockey pitches, cross-country track. It's got a cyclocross skills zone focused on trying to secure more cyclocross riders for Ireland. There's also a big diving centre here as well. There's a wonderful facility just outside Dublin. Not too long then until we get this race underway.
30 riders exactly at the start of this race.
We're on the red lights. The last jersey's just been taken off. Everyone just trying to hold on to as many layers as possible until the very last moment.
2 minutes away from the start. Long about 2 minutes.
It's very, very cold here. Not too long then until we get this race underway, just a couple of minutes. Our first row of the grid, first rider, Marie Schreiber, the Luxembourger. Very consistent over the last few weeks. This rider is about to break out, I'm sure, to a big result.
Thank you.
Next rider on the front row of the grid, her first time on the front row, Sydney McGill. Alongside her, Manon Bakker in the green, 6th last time out. The World Cup leader, Fem van Empel in the red and white jersey, 8 podiums out of 8. Fist bumps with Puk Peters, 2 wins so far, 6 podiums. Denise Betzemer alongside, 4th last time out, looked much better than she has done in recent weeks. Alongside her, former under-23 world champion Inge van der Heide, and the final rider on the grid, teammate of Manon Bakker, Marta Troyen. 50 minutes of racing approximately. There's Pauline Ferrand-Prévot. Despite all the shuffling around, she's still 4th row of the grid. The tape is drawn back. We're on red. We wait for green. It's go, go, go in round 9 of the UCI Cyclo-cross World Cup. Marie Schreiber with a furious tempo at the start. Checks around to make sure that as she goes through that right-hander, that she has a really good position, and Schreiber is a rider who I think today may well take this race on. Second place, the Canadian Sydney McGill. A wonderful opportunity for her. And McGill makes a mistake on that first corner. Well, that wonderful opportunity turned into a bit of a power slide into that left-hander. Fiona Krabbe goes through, Denise Betzemer, and as you can see, it really is now starting to thaw, and it is very, very muddy. Schreiber leads. Let's just take a look at that corner. Schreiber goes through. McGill actually just caught the front wheel as she made her way into that corner. Schreiber with a nice advantage here. A little bit of a lead on Denise Betzemer. These conditions will suit Betzemer today. Not the usual fast start from Puck Peters and Fem van Empel, the two riders who have really duelled it out over the last few weeks. Shirin van Oenrooy is not here. Neither is Lucinda Brand, still trying to recover from that hand injury. There's Betzemer going through on her wheel. Another teammate of hers, Fleur Moers. There's Van Empel. She's chosen to wear gloves today. I saw her doing a recce earlier on, and Fem van Empel was riding first thing this morning with no gloves on at all. It must have been about -4, and she decided that she'd just go out and do the recce as normal. But last week we remember that we heard that she really struggled in the first few laps with very, very cold hands. She couldn't concentrate on the job in hand. Pauline Ferrand-Prévot has had a very good start. This could very much suit Ferrand-Prévot on the fact that being so far back in the grid in the first race that she rode, she never really felt like she was in the race. But with Ferrand-Prévot now up near the front, she's a real racer, isn't she? She'll feel like she's in the race, she's got an opportunity. She moves herself into third place already. There she is, the gravel world champion. And once Ferrand-Prévot feels like she's competitive, I think we're going to see a rider who has got real confidence. All the riders have said that this course is quite tricky to come to terms with because you're trying to work out your lines hours before your race, and then you come into the race situation and you look at it and it's totally different. So it may take a few laps for things just to settle down. Schreiber still with a good advantage though. A compact field, there's been an opportunity for some of the Irish riders to get themselves into the field, notably two cousins of the pro rider Nico Roach. Annie Roach and Stephanie Roach are in here wearing number 23 and 24. Oh, and a big fall there for Puck Peters. Peters got a big problem, can't get her feet, the gears have gone as well. Now Puck Peters with that crash, this could be a huge problem for this rider who has been so dominant over the last few weeks. Let's take another look. Peters went to jump the barriers, jumped the first one, toppled over the second one and caught her bike on Denise Betzemer. She did say that the ice was causing a few problems. She was asked whether she was going to jump the barriers today. She did say she was going to. Well, that may well have caused her to rethink that strategy, because right now everyone's just riding away from her.
Detach themselves from the rest out front. A couple of riders trying to get on terms, but at the moment, Marie Driver from Luxembourg.
Lap number 1 underway. There's Peters going into the pits now. The pits are situated at 220 metres and 1600 metres. That crash happening quite a long way through the lap is really good news for Puck Peters. Very close to the pit section. Schreiber then, still with the advantage. Second place Fem van Empel now. Third place Pauline Ferrand-Prévot. just behind Pauline Ferrand-Prévot and Fem van Empel, Inge van der Heide, Denise Betsema. Maybe with this, as we go into the sand pit for the first time. Very deep sand in this section. You've got to use real power to find your way through. And look at Pauline Ferrand-Prévot. Whilst Fem van Empel has had to run, Pauline Ferrand-Prévot is able to use the power that she's got to just grind her way through that entire sand section. There's Puck Peters having to run as well. We're starting to see who's got the form. Schreiber leads in that neon yellow kit. Fem van Empel looking comfortable. Then Betsema, then Pauline Ferrand-Prévot, Inge van der Heide. 5 riders starting to open up a little bit of a lead now. Fast section downhill with a tricky little left-hander at the bottom. Comes off that bridge. And Fem van Empel now starting to look comfortable at the front as she goes into the lead for the first time. Here comes Puck Peters, storming her way through the mud. Van Empel starting to make life difficult for everybody in the wake. Manon Bakker having another good day. A warm and receptive crowd here in Dublin as we globalise cyclocross a little bit further. Puck Peters, despite that crash and a bike change, looks like she might be about to make contact. And Van Empel, though, is riding away. She's got real speed on this slightly bumpy section. Betsema trying to pedal her way across, rides that section nicely. Everyone's come out here. There's a massive crowd expected. The cowbells are out. A lot of people travelling from the UK want to see the likes of Tom Pidcock racing. That's swelled the numbers in Dublin. Flights to Dublin very rapid, and many of them. Schreiber holding on in third. There's Ferrand-Prévot, and here comes Puck Peters. Look at the speed of her. The adrenaline is pumping right now as she tries to get across. She's made herself a very difficult scenario. Different lines. Van Empel on the right-hand side. Betsema jumps across onto the wheel. Schreiber could be looking at a podium place if she carries on like this, but look at Peters as she just works her way through the field. She's at 16 seconds, now at 14 seconds. And not slowly but surely catching her leaders, doing it with real vengeance, looking superb. Ferrand-Prévot starting to find the pace pretty high. Number 26 there, a young British rider, Millie Cousins. Van Empel looks around. She's only got one rider for company today, and it's not a rider who's been there for a little while. Denise Betsema has not had a podium finish this season in the World Cup. She is concentrating on one of the other series that we see as we come up to the end of lap number 1, and it's a long lap, isn't it? Betsema goes through with a 9:22 lap by the time we fix the 85-metre run-in. 2.4 kilometres an hour. It's a 3,100-metre lap. Ferrand-Prévot on the wheel of Manon Bakker in 7th place. Coming across the line next, Fleur Meurs. Betsema happy with this situation. She's very good in sandy conditions, muddy conditions, ones where you need real power and technical ability to ride in surfaces that you can't find any traction on. There's our third place rider, Puck Peters. Inge van der Heide tracking her well. It's Marie Schreiber. Let's take a look at this replay. That was the move of Fem van Empel to take the lead. She seems to be able to find traction where no one else can. Power where no one else finds any power.
Maria Larkin has moved ahead of Anya Doherty and up into 19th position.
There's this left-hand turn. Little bumps to go over. And Empel now starting to just grow this lead, 2-3 seconds, bit by bit. Peters has got a lot of work to do, but she's cancelled it down to around 12 seconds now. Peters wearing that red and white jersey as the under-23 World Cup leader. She can get herself somewhere close to Fem van Empel. That would be a very, very good result considering where she was. It's now starting to drop a little bit more. Denise Betsemer falling away a little. Van Empel so focused, isn't she? So quietly spoken in her interviews. So respectful and answers the tough questions that she gets asked so easily. But when she gets on a bike, she is a totally different personality. It's all fire and focus, and look at the lead that she's now building. Camera shot gives us a really good indication of just how well that rider is going. 9 seconds to Betsemer now. 12 to Peters, 15 to Inge van der Heide. William van Prevost now at 30. William van Prevost not finding the transition to these World Cups maybe as easy as some people would have hoped. She's posting on her social media quite often that she's surrounded by a wonderful team and she's enjoying the challenge. But once you get a class rider like Van Prevost feeling comfortable on this terrain, on these circuits, then you will really see the performances change. She's surrounded by a really good support team, the likes of Kurt Bogarts, the coach of Tom Pidcock, used to be the team manager of the Anpos Sean Kelly team, which is steeped in Irish tradition. So he is well versed in what it's like to be over here, what the fans are going to be like, what the course was going to be like, the conditions as well. So he'll have given as much help to Van Prevost as possible. He messaged me a little while ago. Both him and the rest of the team have chosen with Van Prevost and Tom Pidcock. They're both riding on Lima's tyres today.
She really is a stunning talent in every sense, but particularly when it comes to the technical elements of cyclocross.
Fem van Empel, 9 seconds now to the second place rider, which is now Puck Peters. Peters comes into the pits. Bit of a bike change. Denise Betsemer chooses not to change bikes that time. A little bit of a slide for Fem van Empel on that occasion. There's no doubt who the fastest rider on the track is, though. It's this rider in second place. In recent weeks, Puck Peters has had that top position in Overijse, top position in Hulst, second place in Antwerp, finished third in Beeksebergen, second in Mesmechelen, second in Tabor. Sandpit section now for the top three. Inge van der Heide seems to be enjoying that little sand section. She's riding it with real power and consistency. This lap time for Puck Peters, though, is going to be interesting because she has ridden across what is a 12-second gap. Was even larger than that, and she is almost on the back wheel of Fem van Empel now. Here goes Peters, dives her way down off the bridge. Just to give you an idea then of the top 10, let's just run through them for you. Fem van Empel, Puck Peters, Denise Betsema, Inge van der Heide in the top 4, all Dutch riders. Marie Schreiber in 5th, Manon Bakker in 6th. In 7th place at the moment is the Canadian rider, Sydney McGill. Millie Cousins is in 8th place, the British rider. Pauline Front-Breveau, the French rider, in 9th, and Fleur Moors in 10th place. Betsema down this far section, almost like moguls in a ski field. Some of the corners that have been set up here, so many fans with their placards and they're dressing up, trying to bring the European atmosphere to Dublin. There's Peters just going past and up towards that corner. There's Betsema. Fem van Empel looks to be riding a pretty steady lap at the moment. Maybe she's suffering the same as she was last time. Maybe cold hands again despite the gloves. And there's Puck Peters. A little bit of a dismount onto the top, almost Frankie Dettori style as she gets off the bike that time. This 3,100 metre course, really testing these riders out. Peters finding a little bit of traction now at 8 seconds, although it looks like that's diminished a little bit more. Mud splattered. The two leaders are about to come back together. Fem van Empel is about to get a little bit of company. There's Betsema, who has not given up on trying to get to these two yet. Van der Heide looking strong. Dublin, of course, one of Europe's most youthful cities. Estimated around 50% of the citizens in Dublin are younger than 25. And therefore, as always, it gives play to a great, vibrant nightlife, a wonderful atmosphere. And as we see these two riders come together, so many live music bands have come from Dublin as well. Two leaders. End of lap 2, and the two leaders are together. The advantage back to Denise Betsema now. Betsema's going to be around about 12 seconds back, but that coming together of the two leaders might calm things down for a little bit. Puck Peters' lap that time was a 9:13, the fastest lap of the race, 22.77 kilometers an hour for Puck Peters. She's gone from that crash over the hurdles to around about a 16-second deficit to now catching the leader and now attacking Fem van Empel with a bit of a flourish.
And she's really stomping on the pedals, splashing across the
Well, Puck Peters, in the words of U2 from Dublin, is going to go with or without you, Fem van Empel. The gap is growing. This is a big attack by Puck Peters. Look at the lead that she's opening up already. Top 10 riders then. Puck Peters is the current leader. Fem van Empel, as we can see, in second place. Denise Betsema in third. Inge van der Heide in fourth. Marie Schreiber, the Luxembourger, now in fifth place. Manon Bakker looking for another top 6 today. She's in sixth place. Millie Cousins, the young British rider, in seventh. That's her best ever position in a World Cup. Pauline Ferrand-Prévot in 8th place now. Fleur Moores in 9th. And Sydney McGill in 10th place. Sydney McGill of Canada having her best result in a World Cup, albeit that we've lost Shireen Van Anrooy, Alvarado, Brand, Vos, Vass and Wurst. And they've dipped in and out of the series during the year. But Sydney McGill, has, if you take those 6 riders out, has not really been anywhere close to a top 20 at this sort of level. So she's looking at a really strong position here for Canada. There's going to be 5 laps of racing. We're on lap number 3. Puck Peters is making Fem van Empel hurt right now. But during the racing today, don't forget to get involved in social media. At UCI_cycling is where you can get hold of the UCI and keep an eye on the action. And don't forget you can follow me at Ant McCrossan on any social media. Send me your messages, send me your thoughts. A little bit of a different face of the Cyclo-cross World Cup today. Can Puck Peters ride away from Fem van Empel here? Van Empel having dominated the early part of this race.
Further around this lap, but Peters again elects to ride the plank.
Over the planks well that time. Thanks very much to Ralph Emerson. Let's take a look here. Really do have to hold your line down the bottom of that descent because there is a real drop-off.
The leaders will cross the line again. It will be with 2 more laps to do.
Ralph has been sending me messages and forecasting that Betsema would ride well here today. Well, she's in third place. She looks like she might find her way back onto the podium. Peters goes in to the pits again. She is constantly changing bikes, whereas Van Empel is not choosing to do so. The strategy is slightly different between these 2 riders. Peters clearly wants to keep nice, fresh, clean tyres, have the bike feeling good. That little bike change has opened the door again. The arrival of Fem van Empel. So much this season has been dominated by these 2 young riders. They really have taken cyclocross to a new level, haven't they? Acceleration of Peters over that little section there. As she makes her way onto the sand, she wanted to have as much power into that sandpit as possible. And Van Empel almost touches the wheel. She had to come to a standstill. Peters had to do the same. So they both have to get off and run. The snow-filled centre of this little area of the track. Betsema, a masterful rider in the sand. Let's take a little look at the technique. Lives up in the north of the Netherlands on that little island. Trains on the sand all the time. Shoulder to shoulder, down that drop-off over the bridge. Van Empel wanted the front line. It's very important, that particular section. You make a mistake off there and you're going to have pretty hefty fall. So Van Empel wanted to make sure that she got into that front line, and it's given her a little bit of an advantage on Peters as she makes her way up this little climb now. Another drop down the descent. It's a really rolling course, isn't it? Oh, Van Empel almost comes to a standstill. I think in this mud through the sandpit, over the hurdles, they're still averaging nearly 23 kilometres an hour. Pretty significant pace at the moment. Van Empel trying to surge a little. While the atmosphere here is absolutely fantastic this afternoon. It might be really cold, bitterly cold, with a cold wind, but it's not stopping everybody keeping warm by cheering these riders on. The atmosphere in this section is stunning at the moment. Well, I'm sure the riders who chose to come here are going to feed back to the rest of the peloton that don't miss Dublin when it's back on the UCI Cyclo-cross World Cup calendar, because the atmosphere is just one that motivates you. Betsema now hovering in that third position, around about 32 seconds down. The two mud-splattered leaders that have dominated women's cyclocross all season. Once we got out of the American rounds, where Van Empel was still dominant, into Tabor, we have just seen these two riders locked together in combat every single week. We've got 5 more rounds of racing to go after this, as we catch up here with Inge van der Heide, with Marie Schreiber just behind in 5th place, her best result so far. Van der Heide has been in the top places. She was 5th last time, wasn't she? Also took a 5th place in Fayetteville. Coming up then to the end of lap number 3. End of lap number 3 in round 9, and we've got 2 leaders still, Van Empel and Puck Peters. Steadier lap that time, 9 minutes and 20 seconds. So they've gone 9.22, then a 9.13 lap by Puck Peters to get across to the front, and then a 9.20 that time for Fen Van Empel. Here's Betsema in 3rd place. She started the season well. She was in 4th in Waterloo and Fayetteville, 4th in Tabor, 4th in Maasmechelen. Went off the boil a little bit, concentrated on the other series, but was 4th last time in Antwerp. So we're starting to see Betsema maybe thinking about the World Championships a little bit more than others. May well have had a tough block of training as well. Look at these two riders, they choose totally different lines over these little rolling sections. So this section also around this sports complex does have the cyclocross trials area, so it means that Ireland is really investing in the riders, and there is also a hope that at some point Ireland will have its own velodrome. There's big plans in place for that to happen. Let's take a look at some other nationalities. The first Irish rider today is Maria Larkin. She's down in 19th place. The progress of Sydney McGill is still top 10. William Prem-Prevost is now in 7th place, getting a bit closer to that all-important top 6. And then the rest of the Irish riders who are here and invited to this World Cup, taking up the places from 23rd to 30th place. Here's Pauline Prevot, we just mentioned. Still in the top 7. Behind her now is Millie Cousins, the British rider. At 4 of 5. At some point, you wonder whether Puck Peters is going to pay for that second lap at 9 minutes 13 seconds. Betsema looks controlled, doesn't she, and very consistent. Not as mud splattered as the other riders. Been riding on her own for a little while now. Around about 26 seconds behind. Peters, the shoulders are rocking a lot more than Fem Van Empel. A little bit of a cagey ride now by the second place rider. Under 23 world champion, European champion. Peters will be loving these sort of conditions. The big question for both of them is, how do you beat the other? Both of them can sprint. Peters is probably a little bit more punchy. Both of them have got the measure of this track. Both of them want to win this World Cup. But at the moment, Van Empel, 290 points. 95 points ahead of Peters, who's in second place with 195. Shireen Van Anrooy was in third place at the start of today. She's 3 points ahead of Denise Betsema. So Betsema's going to move up into third place as we go to the hurdles again. Fem Van Empel being a little bit clever that time. Moved across to the right-hand side just to make life a little bit more tricky for Puck Peters to bunny hop those hurdles. Clever racing by Fem Van Empel. She's not being unsportsmanlike, she's just using technique. Still anybody's race so far.
Multi-world champion in so many different disciplines over the years, including the road, cyclo-cross, mountain bike, cross country.
Both of them decide to take the bikes this time.
Just about everything. You'd like to do it again. Oh, great win.
Betsema, is she closing in a little bit more? Thanks very much for all the messages. SM Carter cheering on Sydney McGill. And Function Tab, thanks for your message. And a good question, do the bikes use a different set of tyres for icy and muddy conditions? The choice really, and we know that as we just see the first Irish rider coming across the line here. Maria Larkin riding for Ireland, a good opportunity to ride against this high-class, top-class World Cup opposition. In the background, Annie Roach, cousin of Nicholas Roach, who's just been lapped. So a good question, do the riders choose different tyres for icy and muddy conditions? Generally, they will choose mud tyres if it's icy, but if it goes really hard, they might then change to a different tread, so they've got a little bit more ability to ride on that mud, that hard, compact conditions. But for today, the riders have chosen mud tyres, so they get the traction because it's really, really muddy now. So, for example, Pauline from Prevot is on what we call Challenge Lima's tyres. We heard from her just before the race start that that's what she decided to take on. I'm trying to spot the Glendale corner here, because the VC Glendale are all out on one particular turn, cheering on the riders and they've got a big Belgian flag and the flags of Flanders as well. I think it's just in this little section coming up. Look at that, it's about 6 deep on this descent. Oh, a little bit of a problem for Fem van Empel. She hasn't quite got that line right yet, even on lap number 4. In fact, there it is. That's all the team of VC Glendale in the background. They messaged me before the start, said they were going to be on that corner. So thanks to Colm Watson and all the team there. Fast downhill section now. Puck Peters is trying to turn the pressure on. Bit of an acceleration from Peters as she tries to put Fem van Empel under pressure. This is a concerted move by Peters. Looking for her 3rd win in the series. Fem van Empel trying to get back on terms. Spinning hard. Thinking I will follow right now. Getting onto the wheel of Puck Peters again. Here's Denise Betzemer into this cauldron of sound in Dublin. This, without doubt, is that area where you get super motivated. Stuck together. Fem van Empel has answered the attack of Puck Peters. Peters looks around. What does she do? How does she beat the World Cup leader? Van Empel, 1 in Waterloo, 1 in Fayetteville, 1 in Tabor, 1 in Maasmechelen. She won last time in Antwerp. She's won 5 rounds. Peters has won 2. 1 more lap of racing to go. And Peters puts in a little bit of an acceleration. 38 minutes of racing, average speed 22.3 kilometers an hour. It's the slowest lap of the race. Peters goes in to take a bike. Fem van Empel's chosen not to. This is the pit number 1 at 220 metres into the lap. Van Empel's obviously happy with the setup she's got. Here's Denise Betzemer. Our 3rd place rider with 1 lap to go. Betzemer's now at 48 seconds. It's a 9:56 lap from Denise Betzemer that time.
Recovering from that bike change. I'm going to make an effort to get back on terms.
Fem van Empel.
She's not quite there yet.
She must have just felt like the bike is okay, it's not too clogged up with mud. Let's just put Peters under that little bit of pressure, make her realise that I'm still strong. The question is whether it's a mistake not to take a bike, because it gets clogged up pretty quickly. Betzemer takes a bike as well.
At the conclusion of that first lap, how many Masters 60 burn the effort?
Little uphill section. Peters is really strong on these sections, isn't she? She's got so much punch when it comes to firing over these little kickers, the snow and the frost left and right of that single track trail. The top 10 then. Fem van Empel and Puck Peters. Denise Betzemer in 3rd. Inge van der Heide in 4th place. 5th place, her best position, Marie Schreiber of the Tourmans team. Manon Blacker heading for a top 6 again. Pauline Ferrand-Prévot now in 7th. Millie Cousins in 8th place. Sydney McGill of Canada in 9th. And Fleur Meurs Belgian rider in 10th place. So we're getting to know a few different riders today. Can hear that mud as they slither their way around the corners. What's going through the minds of these two riders now? Who could win the sprint? Let's see. We've seen these two riders go head-to-head like this on so many occasions. One little mistake will cost them the race. No one prepared to take a massive risk ride. Now, Peters on the wheel. Van Empel wondering whether Peters will share the pacemaking, which she does. She decides to go through. Fem Van Empel doesn't want to do all the work on her own. There's Betsema on the other side of the track. There's no real worry for the two front riders. The third place rider, Betsema's pretty secure as well. Hurdles again. Peters goes to the right-hand side of the track. Takes those hurdles nicely. Real fire in both these riders today as they accelerate away. It's not going to be long until we know who's going to take this victory. The only other rider to have won this season is Shireen Van Anrooy, and we miss her today. Apart from that, all the victories in this World Cup have been shared out between these two riders. Neither of them decide to go into the pits. Peters took it pretty wide that time. 42 minutes have gone by. Betsema to the hurdles. The only rider who jumps the hurdles in this women's racing is Puck Peters. But you get the feeling that in the next season, a lot of work will be done during the summer and riders will be looking to try and jump those hurdles because she gets such an advantage. Through the gateway, and the fight is on. Peters accelerates again into the sand, uses that to good effect. Fem Van Empel really needs to keep pushing here because Peters is going to try and go all the way through the sand to the end, which she manages to do. Inge van der Heide in 4th place. Onto the tarmac, trying to find a little bit more traction. Up the climb. Peters still in the lead. Van Empel right on the wheel. Downhill section. These two riders now are going to get set for the finish. Another little bit of a push. And here's the attack. Fem Van Empel makes her move. Pushes on. Puck Peters was found that time to not really be focused. And Van Empel is going clear with that little bit of a move on the right-hand side. Fast descent now. She's wanted to be in the front on this section every single time. Just a couple of meters. This could give Peters enough to just be able to... Oh, and a problem there again for Fem Van Empel. That's allowed Peters to be back in. Again into the noisiest section of the course. Peters has refused to be left behind. Who is going to take this? Another move down this back straight by Fem van Empel. Well, with such cold and wet and muddy conditions, it really will be the sweetest thing to win here in Dublin. A massive attack from Peters. Dives her way down. Look at the big acceleration from Puck Peters. This is the move to try and win round 9. The speed of Puck Peters as they start to catch the back markers. These riders really do need to clear the track because this is the moment in the World Cup. Well, they get out the way. That's good news. Fem van Empel has fought her way back onto the wheel. They come absolutely flying past. They've lapped the riders from Ireland there on the right-hand side. Well, the attack of Puck Peters hasn't worked. And now Fem van Empel goes into the lead. She takes this right-hand turn. Out the saddle. And Peters has got to try and respond. Fem van Empel gets rid of the glasses. Checks over her shoulder. And here comes the sprint. She has measured this to absolute perfection. Fem van Empel, the World Cup leader, wins round 9 in Dublin. Puck Peters in second place. The attack of Fem van Empel was cold and calculated and perfectly executed. What a tussle. Attacking each other consistently over that last lap. Here comes Denise Betsema. This is going to be her best result of the season in the UCI World Cup so far. Fem van Empel wins her 6th round of this World Cup. That last lap was a 9:16 lap, the second fastest lap of the race. Here's Inge van der Heide in 4th place. Well, there's going to be a few riders who get their first top 10s in a UCI World Cup today. Denise Betsema, all smiles. 3rd place for her in Dublin. All smiles from her. Her best result of the season in the World Cup so far. I think Fem van Empel's struggling a little bit here. She's been holding her ribs for a while. Here's Inge van der Heide. She's being caught by Marie Schreiber. Schreiber thinks that 4th place is the position that she should be in today. The Luxembourger. And now the sprint for the line. So Inge van der Heide in red, Marie Schreiber in the neon yellow. Van der Heide will finish 4th. Marie Schreiber with her best ever position in a World Cup. She takes 5th place. This is Manon Bakker. Another top 6 for her today. She was 6th in Antwerp. Here's Pauline Ferrand-Prévot. Almost at the finish. Good to see her finish in the top 10 today. She'll be pleased with this. It shows some progression. Manon Bakker's been on good form, hasn't she? watching the rider in front of her. Here's Manon Bakker. That was Millie Cousins, sorry, with Sydney McGill just behind her. Manon Bakker turns her way into the finish area. 2 weeks, 2 top sixes. Sixth place for the rider from Kreland Fristads. She responded to the attacks and she made her move at a perfect time. Fem van Empel wins her 6th round of the World Cup this season. And that hurt a lot. Denise Betsema in 3rd place, Puck Peters in 2nd. These riders will get cleaned up now. We'll hear from them and we'll have the presentation. She returned to cyclocross this year, Pauline Ferrand-Prévot, an inspiration for women riders. 7th place for her today. Best place ever for Sydney McGill in a World Cup. She takes 8th place for Canada. 9th place for Millie Cousins of Great Britain. This is our 10th place rider, Fleur Moers of Belgium, riding for the Paul Sausen squads. Her best place in a World Cup. This is Yinzi Peters, riding for the Proximus team. And high fives all round, as always. This is Kiona Krabbe, riding in 12th place. Just behind her is Julie Brouwers. And the riders in the top 15 getting across the line. Round 9 of the UCI Cyclo-cross World Cup, and a fast start with a field of 30 riders from 9 nations. Leading into the first corner, Marie Schreiber, the Luxembourger, who's been looking so good this season. The first hurdles, and a problem for Puck Peters. She rarely does that. Crashed on the hurdles and then had to have a bike change. So Puck Peters had to chase a lot. At the front of the race, though, Fem van Empel leading with Denise Betsema in 2nd place. Peters was making her way through the field, having been almost 20 seconds behind the leader. Fem van Empel riding really consistently. Denise Betsema having the best ride in the World Cup since the start of the season. Peters managed to get the hurdles sorted on lap 2 and the further laps. And ultimately caught Fem van Empel and decided to go past. This is a sight we have seen many times this season so far. Peters and Van Empel shoulder to shoulder, giving each other a fantastic race. Denise Betsema settled down into 3rd. And for the majority of this round in Dublin, It was all about who was in the lead. Each of them attacking. One going, the second one going. As they made their way into the finish line, Fem van Empel, having been attacked by Puck Peters, caught her, got rid of the glasses and powered her way into the finish. The sweetest thing in Dublin. A fantastic win and real pride for Fem van Empel. Second place to Puck Peters, third place to Denise Betsema. That was a hard fought day. The face tells you everything. Here's the results of round 9. Fem van Empel wins in 47 minutes 13 seconds. Second place for Peters, third for Betsema. Some new names in the top 10. Marie Schreiber in 5th, Pauline Ferrand-Prévot in 7th. Canada's Sydney McGill in 8th place, with Millie Cousins and Fleur Moores also making their way into the top 10 for the first time. The standings now look like this. Fem van Empel increases her lead now with 105 points. Her advance on Puck Peters. Denise Betsema in third place. Frosty and snowy at the start here in Dublin, and a chilly day, but a crowd who've brought a real warm atmosphere to cyclocross. In a few moments we're going to hear from some of the riders, and we'll also bring you the presentation. We've got a chance then to see the course, which is changing quite a lot. We'll see what it happens in and affects the men's race. Let's hear now from Puck Peters.
Puck Peters, runner-up. Despite the crash in the first lap, was there too much traffic when you tried to jump the barriers the first time?
Yeah, at the first pit zone, a girl in front of me crashed, which made me get my chain off. And then I lost some places already, so I had to catch up. So I wasn't in the ideal position to jump the barriers, but decided to do it anyway. Then Denise and I got caught up in each other a bit. And then I couldn't put my front wheel up anymore because Denise's handlebars were there. So I crashed, and then my chain was off again, which made me lose some seconds, unfortunately.
But you came back to the front, and then you put a lot of pressure on Fem van Empel, even in the final stretches. You tried to get rid of her. Was that maybe overplaying her hand a little bit?
No, I knew that if it came down to the last straight, that Fem would be really difficult to beat. So I decided to go early. There were some back markers, but luckily they didn't bother us too much. And I just went all out, but Fem had the last punch to overtake still. So second again.
It was a great race. Thank you very much. Puck Peters, een geweldige wedstrijd was het. Ondanks je val in de eerste ronde. Vat kort samen wat daar gebeurde op de balkjes onder meer.
Ja, langs de eerste post viel er een renner voor me. Waardoor ik even uit het pedaal moest en toen lag mijn ketting er eigenlijk al af. Dus ik lag al wat meer van achter en toen probeerde ik snel naar voren te komen. Maar daardoor was het bij de balken nog best wel druk. Besloot alsnog te springen. Maar helaas zat ik een beetje vast met mijn stuur in Denise's stuur, waardoor ik mijn voorwiel niet meer omhoog kon doen. En toen lag mijn ketting er weer af. En dat heeft me toen wel wat meer tijd gekost, want toen kon ik er me niet meer opschakelen. Daarna gelijk gewisseld en zo snel mogelijk naar de kop toe gereden. Maar dat heeft waren wel kostbare seconden, denk ik.
Daarna zet je meteen druk en die druk bleef maar na het haasje overspel. In de laatste ronde dacht je, ik zie mijn kans gewoon op die ene strok. En op dat moment dacht ik, misschien overspeelt ze haar hand een klein beetje.
Ja, ik wilde graag in de zandbak op kop zitten. Want ik wist dat Fem daar echt wel heel vlot doorheen ging. Dat hebben we afgelopen week natuurlijk ook gezien. Dat lukte gelukkig. En toen heb ik besloten om gewoon alleen maar druk te blijven zetten vanaf daar. Maar ja, Fem die had nog de laatste punch om er overheen te komen.
Het was een WK-waardig duel. Jullie winnen met grote voorsprong op de rest. Is dit een prelude op de wereldkampioenschap?
Het zou leuk zijn natuurlijk als het dan ook zo'n mooie koers was. De sfeer zat er in ieder geval goed in bij de Ierse fans. Het was echt super druk en overal geschreeuw. Dus het was echt heel mooi om hier te rijden.
Dankjewel, Puk Pieters.
Buck Peters reflecting on a crash at the start. Let's hear now from the winner of today's race, Fem van Empel, get her reflections
Fem van
on
Empel,
a great win.
Great victory, and that despite your stomach problems in the day ahead of this race, so you were strong.
Well, yeah, I did my best, and yeah, it was a good performance today. But I feel not really good at the race. But I did everything I had today, and yeah, that was enough to win.
What a duel it was! It was pure propaganda for women's cyclocross because yet you were leading, then she was leading. It was great fun.
Yeah, the atmosphere was really great today, and yeah, Puck is also really strong this season, so it's very fun to ride together and to battle every time again to win.
Congratulations. Fem van Empel, je voelde je niet goed in de aanloop naar deze wedstrijd, maar tijdens de race bleek daar eigenlijk weinig van te merken. Hoe zat dat?
Goh, ja, dat was misschien verkeerd gedacht, maar het werd eigenlijk met de race wel erger. Ja, ik heb gewoon geprobeerd het beste eruit te halen. En ja, Puck reed af en toe wel een paar keer weg, maar ik kon wel sterk terugkomen. Aan mijn benen lag het vandaag niet, maar ja, mijn maag was toch niet helemaal 100%. Maar ik ben blij toch hier te kunnen winnen.
Toen ze je in de slotronde weer voorbij reed, op een strook waar je dat eigenlijk niet meteen verwachtte, wist jij toen nog, mijn kans komt nog?
Het is altijd lastig, maar we waren vrij goed aan elkaar gewaagd vandaag. En dan is het gewoon uitvechten tot de finish. En vandaag was het voor mij, dus ja, heel blij mee.
Het was een WK-waardig duel. We kunnen niet anders concluderen. Krijgen we dit ook in Hogerheide te zien? Met zoveel voorsprong op de rest ook?
Goh, ja, als het publiek komt, dan maken we denk ik een hele mooie race van. Want ik denk dat we beide goed gaan op een beetje sensatie. Dus ja, het is nog ver weg natuurlijk, maar ook weer heel dichtbij. Dus, maar het was een heel mooi duel vandaag.
Dat is een understatement. Proficiat, Fem van Empel.
Dankjewel.
Fem van Empel, struggling yesterday, okay today. Still found it very, very tough out there. Let's hear from Denise Betsema.
You were the best of the rest today. Can you live with that?
Yes, it was. It really was the best of the rest. Fem and Puck were really strong and I tried to follow, but then I was in the third position and I think it was a safe position then. Inge van der Heijden was a bit behind, so I find my own tempo and that was my race. Follow the girls.
What can you say about the race conditions?
It was really hard. It was totally different than when I go in the course in the morning. Not frozen anymore, so a lot of mud and yeah, really tough race.
Nice third place, thank you. Denise Betsema, the best of the rest, mogen we het zo zeggen?
Ja, dat was het wel. Ja, tuurlijk probeerde ik eerst nog wel te volgen. Maar ja, ik kon net niet blijven hangen op die derde plek achter die meiden in het wiel. En ja, toen eigenlijk op een veilige positie terechtgekomen. Waarbij Inge toch wel een stukje achter mij zat. En in mijn eigen tempo zou kunnen volgen.
Vat de wedstrijdomstandigheden samen?
Ja, zwaar, intensief en ja, wel glijden door de modder.
Dankjewel en proficiat met plek 3.
Dankjewel.
Denise Betsema in third place. She'll be happy to be on the podium, as you can hear from her there. The course, very tough for the riders today because you go out, you do your recce maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours before the race, and then the race course now has totally changed. And for the men, they would have ridden before the women's race. I saw Wout van Aert and others out doing their recce, and this course now is mud. Still time for a few snowballs here and there, though. Just a few moments, we'll bring you the presentation. Just to mention, there's a few other riders who got their first taste of the World Cup in top places today. Taylor Cook-White of the USA finished in 15th place today. Top Irish rider was Maria Larkin in 20th. Great news for Sydney McGill to finish in the top 10 for Canada in 8th place today. There's Glendale Corner. We wait for the presentation, which is about to happen now. A nice atmosphere here in Dublin is what you would expect. Presentation about to happen.
With our official award ceremony, may we have the tune, please? I'd like to call on to assist us with the podium presentations. We're very grateful for the, and indeed honoured for the presence of.
Hope you enjoyed the women's race. Don't forget, we'll have a little bit of a break and then the men's race will be up shortly. Here's our podium in round 9 of the UCI Cyclo-cross World Cup in Dublin.
Cyclo-cross race, the first ever World Cup race over here in Dublin, Ireland for the women elite category. First of all, in 3rd place, representing the Netherlands, a big round of applause please for Denise Betsema!
Denise Betsema, her first top 3 place in this campaign in the World Cup.
The CEO of Sport Ireland. The runner-up in this
It's been a little while since we saw Betsema in the top 3. The last time was in Dendermonde last season. Notably was also a mud bath. Puck Peters on the podium again, consistently in the top 3.
Coming from the Netherlands, ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for Fem van Empel!
And another victory for this rider who has absolutely dominated women's cyclocross this season. Started her season with 3 wins, 4 wins in a row. Came back to form, if you want to just signify it by form, by winning in Antwerp last week, having had 3 weeks of finishing in 2nd place. Fem van Empel firmly at the top of the leaderboards with 105 points lead now.
Ladies and gentlemen, may we now have your attention please for the national
And now for the national anthem of the Netherlands. The national anthem of the Netherlands, an all-Dutch top 3 again today. Denise Betsema, Buck Peters and Fem van Empel on the podium. Fem van Empel in that red and white jersey as the leader of the World Cup again. Can anyone beat her by the end of the season? It's going to be a massive ask because she's said that she's going to focus on this World Cup, that she's going to ride all the rounds. It's going to be very difficult to beat her. Buck Peters will stay as the leader of the under-23 classification. Thanks very much for joining us for the Women's Elite race. Round 9 is won by Fem van Empel. We'll be back with the men's race. Bye for now.